Hey everyone, welcome to another Good e-Reader on review video. My name is Michael.
This is Peter.
We have here the Tolino EPOS. It's the first Tolino that's larger than 6 inches. It's 7.8 inches, and this is indicative to a greater trend in the e-reader industry right now. Everyone from Icarus to Amazon are all releasing non-6-inch e-readers, which is really good for readers that want a bigger screen. It's 1872 by 1404, 300 ppi. It's waterproof. It's a dust-proof. This has a 1200 milliamp battery. It should be good for a few weeks. This is the first e-reader that Tolino's ever made that has an RGB color system, so it's very much akin to the Kobo Aura one, that it'll give you warm colors. We'll get into that in a moment, but it does a lot of really exciting things. So this is pretty well the ultimate Tolino e-reader.
The only downside is that it doesn't look fantastic. Yes, it's a flush screen and bezel, but that's really it. It looks like every other Tolino ever made. Rounded corners, capacitive, hardware-driven button on the bottom, nothing on either of the sides. The top has the glow light button and power button. The bottom has the USB, and the back is just a plastic backing. Now there is a little bit of a space between the back and the battery, and it snaps as you tap it, so there's a little bit of a dip, but other than that, it's a very sturdy e-reader.
So this is the main UI. It basically shows like the last books that you've loaded on the device. You also see here that we do have a bookstore set up, but you could actually set up between 5 different bookstores. This is just like the store UI. We don't actually have to log in to actually look at it or whatever, but it does take a few seconds for it to like log in, or for everything to, resolute.
It's not the fastest experience when it comes to fetching things off Wi-Fi, but it performs pretty well outside of that realm.
Yeah, I mean, all the bookstores are pretty well German bookstores. They don't really have like an English selection, but luckily this does have compatibility with Adobe Digital Edition. So if you have purchased ebooks on other e-readers from other bookstores, you can sideload them in with Adobe Digital Editions. And this works with library books as well, which is kind of cool. There's web browser. In a settings menu here, that there's like a number of things. What's actually different than here is the screen refresh rate. I've never seen an e-reader with these options before. Every 100th pages, every 80th pages, like who does that? Yeah. I've never seen that. It's usually anywhere between like 1 to 10 is standard.
And then never.
This is, never's recommended here. So let's just do it every 100 pages and whatnot. You have dictionaries here, so if you don't want the default one, which is German, English, French, Italian, Spanish, and so on. Of course, you do have a web browser. Google's the default browser. Let's take a look at the reading experience.
It's very nice. You see that because this is a large screen e-reader, a lot displays on the screen, but we're going to change some things around so we can see it a little bit easier so I can make my point. Text display is a slider bar. Everything changes live. Takes a second, but once it does, it's very quick. I've never really heard of these fonts before, Bitter, Fira Sans, Source Sans, but they are there for you to change it up. You do have line spacing, alignments, margins, and publisher's standard. So if you want to look at what the publisher had intended, then you can go ahead and do that. Page turns are pretty quick. Doesn't refresh for the next 100 pages, I guess, for our setting. You do have highlight, note, lookup, and translate. Translate's really cool because you don't really get this on a lot of e-readers outside of, say, the Kindle, but you do have to go to the dictionary and assign what you want to translate it to, or else it simply won't. You can go to write note, and we'll show you the keyboard here. Now, I'm not a fan of two things of this. It navigates away from the main page, and the QWERTY keyboard has stacked characters, not staggered characters. So the Q and the A are never really supposed to be on top of each other. But it's a small thing, but it's things that you notice like that. I typed my name pretty accurately. It skipped a letter and thought I typed something else. So not the most responsive. Exactly. Not the most responsive note-taking experience, but the reading experience is totally fine. Yet another Kobo-esque feature that this thing brings to the table is not only the brightness setting on the glow light, but it has from warm to cold degrees of Kelvin, and what that is how, well, warm or cold the light is. So you can turn it to very warm, it's very candle light-y, or you can turn it to very cold, very fluorescent light-y, tungsten kind of thing. So this has full capability to go from left to right in terms of the Kelvin spectrum, and it does have an automatic color temperature. So when it's bright out, obviously not in complete darkness, you can click that, and not only will it set the brightness level, it'll set the how cold your environment is and match it to the optimal reading experience.
I believe it's probably the best e-reader that Tolino has ever made, both in screen real estate size, the front-lit display, the quickness of it. Some of the settings menus are kind of cool. So drop a comment below. You've heard our thoughts. Let's hear from yours. And for goodereader.com and a review of the new Tolino EPOS, my name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.